Hi, I'm JJ Vance, and this is Jonathan McKinney.
Hello.
And you're watching another episode of Writing Advice with JJ and Jonathan. Today, we're going to be talking about making your audience cry.
Okay.
Now, this is a common desire for writers. It's definitely one I have. I particularly like to make my audience cry. I know you enjoy it.
Yes. Are you talking specifically sad cry or
Yes, I think
satisfied cry?
No, I think sad cry. I'm talking specifically connecting with them in a way that when you do something like a tragedy, something really, really sad happens in your story, it affects them in a way they cry.
To wreak emotional devastation.
Right? If you're a writer and you write the kind of stories where this is a possibility, so like dramas or anything like that, or fantasy, there are ways of going about doing it. There's a good way and a bad way.
Okay, what's the bad way?
The bad way is just writing something really, really sad and terrible.
Okay, so James left the house and his dog
Got burned in a fire.
Really,
Really sad.
That's really bad.
It's a really sad thing, right? But, and this is going to sound kind of brutal, if you do not know James or why he loves his dog,
Okay, it's easier to get over that.
it's easy to get over. You're not going to really care. Like
Tears are going to dry fast.
Yeah, you can write truly devastating things. You can write children dying of leukemia. You can write, babies being kidnapped and abandoned in the woods. You can write terrible, terrible, sad, tragic things that might move people to tears because of how brutally sad they are.
So if you were to layer this James and his dog, 'cause we don't even know the name of the dog at this point.
It's Ellis.
Ellis was gifted to James by James's late father,
Who died
who was
of leukemia.
wow
No.
on the brain.
No, he can die of. He was hit by a brick truck. So James's father.
It's starting to get a little wild.
James's father, Matthew, was hit by a.
He was called Ellis. Oh no, the dog.
No, the dog is Ellis.
Ellis. Yeah.
James's father, Matthew, was hit by a brick truck after gifting Ellis to James.
Yeah.
With the promise that
James would return Ellis to visit him every year on the anniversary of the death.
Right.
This is a bit ridiculous.
Yes, but right. Then you have James who leaves Ellis in the house on the day he's supposed to take him to the place because he's had an urgent call from work and he's made the decision, no, I will go and do this job first, then I will return for Ellis. And then Ellis burns in the fire.
Yeah.
Then you start to have James, who is somebody you understand why the dog matters particularly. I mean, that's not all dogs matter particularly, but if you can motivate,
a few scenes of James really depending on Ellis's company.
Exactly.
Will
thriving and surviving because of his furry friend.
When James's wife leaves him and the dog just
lies next to him
night after night and
comforts him.
And James maybe is a bit grumpy to start with, but he learns to love the dog.
Exactly.
It's starting to really.
Then when the dog dies, then you've got some serious tugging on the old feels, and then you're gonna actually move people to tears because they care, not just because you've written something really sad.
Yeah. So it might start to feel like a little bit of an orgy of pain. If there's no hope in this.
Yeah, you can maybe Ellis knocked up a lady dog and the lady dog is going to have a bunch of mini Ellises.
Yeah, and it doesn't replace Ellis, but it replaces the spirit of him in the house.
Exactly, and he lives on through his children.
And the baby dogs need somewhere, and now James has developed into a caring dog owner.
Exactly.
And will give them, some of the things that Ellis loved the most.
His old bone.
His old bone, his favourite snacks, and then learn what all the new dogs. And then you've got this kind of circle of life thing with this really weird dog in the fire midpoint, which is terrible.
But the point is, unless you really care about your characters and why the situation they're in is so tragic,
Right.
even if you move your audience to tears, it won't stick with them.
Yeah, and some audience members, some participating audience types, will have a sort of go-to thing that they will cry over no matter what. And they'll just, you say dead dog, and they just, oh.
Yeah. My mother can't cope with a dead dog at all.
Possibly.
But the things that have made me cry, like proper ugly cry. Okay, so Watership Down, I have read that book. I don't know how many times. I have been ruined by it. Every single time I have sobbed when Hazel dies.
Good.
Right? Charlotte's Web. I have read that book so many times. When Charlotte dies, I am ruined. I ugly cry. Right?
Mm-hmm.
These connect with you. We've talked about it before.
The Never Beast.
The Never Beast. Tinkerbell and the Never Beast. When that Never Beast goes back into hibernation and all the fairies are saying goodbye, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go again.
Don't do it.
The point is, because through those stories, you've connected, you've understood them. What's that terrible film that broke my soul with Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams, The Notebook.
Oh yeah.
Right? When that old couple snuggle up in that bed together at the end and die, my God, I'm destroyed. I cannot breathe. I'm crying so hard. Now, if you'd shown me that old couple snuggled up in bed and dying at the beginning of the film, I'd been like,
that's very sad.
that's very sad.
But they're not my people.
They're not my people.
Yeah.
I'd be like, it might make me think of my grandma. And like when my grandma died, very sad. Sobbed my heart out when my grandma died. So it might spur some memories and it might trigger an emotional response in me because it reminds me of something. But those old people, I only ugly sobbed over because I learned to love and care about those people through the story. And that's the point. If you don't bother to put it in, if you just want to make people cry, you're like, I'm just going to just whack a whole bunch of tragedy in this story. I'm just going to brutally, like, rip families apart and burn dogs. And do you know what I mean? Like,
No.
It might cause sadness and it might spark tears, but nobody will care to cry about it when they think about it a week later.
Yeah, I don't think Game of Thrones is a make you cry show.
No.
Ever. And lots of people die in that.
Not tragic, though.
It's
dramatic. And
tragedy is more about ruin.
Yeah, well, the thing is, dramatic deaths don't generally spark tears. What sparks the tears is the sad, the connection, the hope, which is then destroyed. Connecting with those characters, learning to love them, and then destroying that happiness and hope. That is good tears. That is the tears that will stick with your audience, will make them, when they describe it to their family and their friends, be like, you have to read this book. Right? Otherwise, it's just, yeah, it's a good book. Some really sad shit happens. It's different. You want to go for the brutal pain, not just the sadness for the sake of sadness.
Yes. Ultimately, if you are writing, tragedy is not the right word, but devastating emotional pain, then it needs to be constructed. It needs to be built from the ground up. You need to plant seeds of pain, and that's the guy learning to love the dog. That is you building the pain for your reader or your movie watching person. So the more I know it's probably not the greatest idea, but the more work you do, and you might look in the mirror and say, why am I doing this?
It's because writers are cruel. We are evil people. We love to make people cry. I love it.
The pen is full of evil.
Yeah. I've never got over the joy I felt at your mother texting me at 1 a.m. because she'd finished the Magic Rabbit and just saying she couldn't breathe because she was crying so hard.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Stitch that.
Just because that's the set out. Like, you do that. You want to. If you want to write something sad, then of course you want your audience to cry. Because otherwise, what are you doing? Why write something sad?
Also, there's no type of story that can't make someone cry. There's literally a goofy comedy
Yeah, if you throw
can-
something suddenly, unexpectedly, just
Yeah, you can
real.
do this. You can do this, and it is important. It's a powerful power to have if you can achieve it. To make strangers flood in
I
tears.
love it.
Um,
I am such a horrible person, but I love it. I love like when we saw Katie after she'd read Mermaid's Curse and she was like
cross.
bright red and like sobbing. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
So what's the advice? It's to plant the seeds that you're going to.
It's not just to think that writing something that is technically really, really sad is enough.
Yeah.
It's lazy. People will not emotionally connect enough to be moved to tears over something just because it's sad.
And don't give your characters a break ever, because you might be tempted to, because you're writing a story and they represent you, and you're kind of trying to.
It's like, so much sadness has happened to this person, I'm going to let them win one. No, never let them win one.
No, pretty much. I mean, obviously they might.
At the end,
get
they
what they
might.
want.
The climax might mean they win one, but
Even if they get what it was that they were in pursuit of when the story began and throughout the story,
they should have lost something.
if
The cost.
if there is a cost that devastates them, then all the better, really.
Yeah. But yeah, you have to put the effort in and the time in,
Yeah.
or it's empty and hollow.
Yeah, nobody's gonna tell their friends that a character they can't remember the name of died.
Yeah.
Um,
They won't
No.
care enough.
and they're not likely to tell their friends that a character died. But if your story does strike a chord
They might
with
want
them,
them to read it.
then you can turn those readers into publicists for you by making them, tell the people in their lives about
Exactly.
this story, because it matters so much to them, because it provided this emotional response.
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching our video about connecting with your audience on a way that makes a story sad in a way that makes them care, not just throwing random pain at them and hoping it sticks.
Sure.
So thank you very much for watching. If you could like and subscribe this video, you will help us keep growing and bringing you more videos with writing advice. Also, if you could comment down below with any examples you've got of stories that have really, really, really emotionally broken you and made you cry. Let us know, because we can do some more videos with advice on how it has been done and talk about it and take it apart and discuss why it works so well. So thank you very much, and we'll be back again soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.